Welcome to the Diablo 4 updated Landslide build 2.0. Sometimes it's called the Subterranean Build. So I use this build to carry tier 100 nightmare dungeons. Running solo on this build just makes the game look easy. If you're going to subscribe to one build out of all of the Druid builds, I would recommend this build right here. It's an absolute beast. You've got huge AoE damage. Single target damage is incredible as well. And also the survivability is just ridiculous. If you go straight to the written build guide, the build's not going to make a lot of sense if you're new to the Druid. So we're going to be using Storm Strike with Fierce to apply vulnerability and damage reduction. Now, every single ability in this game has a hidden mechanic, right? It's called a proc coefficiency. Sometimes it's presented in hidden attack speed. This is why, for example, we're not using Wind Shear. Cannot see these scores, they are hidden. Now, all of our AoE damage is going to come from Landslide. We want to max this out, and we're also going to be using Primal Landslide for the Terra nodes. Now, while we're in the core skill bracket, we're also going to max level all of these three passives. They're going to give us crit chance, movement speed, and more damage reduction. Crit chance is huge for this build. Now, we're going to put 1 point into Earthen Bulwark and one more into the innate node. Bulwark is going to give us this huge single target damage. Adding more points into the skill will only increase Bulwark's shield bonus, not the damage itself. So I pretty much never die with 1 point into Earthen Bulwark. You can add more points in if you want to get more defense. 1 point is fine though, guys. Like if you're fully specced out, just stick with one. Put some more points in if you need some more survivability. 3 points into Vigilance for more damage reduction. Damage reduction is the biggest premium in Diablo 4. It's easy to get damage. It's not easy to get DR. Now, 1 point into Poison Creeper. Now, thanks to the Subterranean legendary, Poison Creeper is going to cast Landslide for us. 1 point into Brutal, which is going to give us 20% crit chance against enemies affected by Poison Creeper. So when the Landslide is casted, the crit chance is massively increased. Now, this is going to synergize with one of our spirit boons called Pack Leader. Okay, so critical strikes have a 20% chance to reset Poison Creeper, which is going to be sending out more landslides. Keep in mind that this is on lucky hits. High crit chance, again, is very good for this build, but also keep in mind it's your crit strikes in totality. Every crit strike you do on every ability is going to reset Poison Creeper. It's just so powerful. 1 point into Hurricane. Basically, this ability is going to apply slow or a crowd control proc to pretty much every single enemy that we interact with. This is going to help us with our Paragon Board. We're also going to put 1 point into Savage, which is going to give us 20% more damage reduction as well. Now, this is where we get a huge DPS bonus. We're going to max out all 3 of the Earth passives, with the exception of one though. So Safeguard is only going to get 1 point. 1 point is enough to utilize this effect. It'd be boring for me to go into a massive explanation on why this is important, so I'm not going to. So we're going to be putting 1 point into Neurotoxin, 3 points into Envenom. This is our biggest damage increase out of all of our skills. I've got 6 on mine, 3 extra from my amulet. So Envenom's crit damage bonus is multiplied. So getting 6 points into Envenom is just like cheating. Put 1 point into Trample. Thanks to the Trampled Earth legendary, Trample now casts 6 landslides as well as Poison Creeper. And we've also added in the Aftershock legendary. So now our Trample landslides and our Poison Creeper landslides are going to cast twice. Now, you got to think about each one of these casts not as one big landslide, but each little landslide is its own individual unit. So what this means is that it has its own chance to proc any of the bonus effects that you've got, each little block. Now, we do not care about the damage bonus from Trample. That's why we've only got 1 point. We're just using it as a vehicle to cast more landslides. So that's it, baby. That's all we got to worry about. Going to be keeping the original landslide skill in our active ability bar. Now, we will never actually use this skill directly. We have Poison Creeper and Trample to do that for us, but the bonus node, Primal Landslide, and its massive crit multipliers that you can see stacking up, it only works when it's in your active ability bar. Just put it in, forget about it. Now, our key passive absolutely defines this build. 30% chance to cast a free skill of the opposite type. If I use Storm Strike, you can see the earth spikes being casted. So this is a great visual representation on how this works. Now, with the help of the symbiotic legendary, whenever a free skill is casted, our cooldowns are reduced by 8 seconds. So this is going to give us a very, very short cooldown. If you're going to use this symbiotic legendary, you get a max roll and you put it on your amulet for the 50% bonus. Otherwise, it's not useless, but it's just so ineffective compared to being on your amulet. Spirit boons, damage reduction from elites, maximum life, and attack speed. Pack leader, obviously, this is very important for our build, and masochistic. I'm not using Obsidian Slam, which is a big DPS bonus, just because our damage is already fantastic. Now we want Disobedience and Might for the damage reduction, Ghostwalker for the movement speed. It's the best pair of boots. Now Mending Stone is going to boost the duration of our Earthen Bulwark while we're transitioning from enemy to enemy, which isn't really a long time. Big, scary Tempest roar that some people just can't find, and I understand it, they're extremely rare, absolutely not needed for this build. Running Mending Stone is a slightly better choice, but just a little bit better. So what are the cons and pros of running Tempest Roar? Cons of Tempest Roar is that we lose out on another legendary aspect, our Earthen Bulwark up to 6 seconds and refreshing. Now on top of this, all of these really desirable stats. We've got barrier generation, life, cooldown, basic skill, attack speed, all these awesome stats you can get, you just can't get on Tempest Roar. Now the benefits or the pros of running Tempest Roar, it makes your storm skills werewolf skills. So that means things like Hurricane will apply poison damage because of Toxic Claw. So long story short, the legendary Paragon node Heightened Malice becomes more effective because we're poisoning more targets with our Hurricane. It's a bigger AoE. Things like damage reduction from poison enemies is a little bit more consistent. We're essentially poisoning more enemies to take advantage of those two things. The Crone Staff, honestly, it's just better. It's just a better item to use. The Crone Staff is going to be a lot more consistent with the way that your abilities work. At the same time, you're going to miss out on a huge amount of damage by running the Crone Staff. So you need to weigh it up. All right, so here are the highlights from the Paragon board so you know what's going on, okay? Territorial. This is going to give us damage reduction against enemies that are close, more DR. Now we're going to be using Heightened Malice. This is the biggest DPS boost you can get on the Paragon board on the Druid. It's so overpowered. You want to be using this one for sure. Now we're also going to be using Shapeshifter. Shapeshifting gives us a 20% chance to cause skills to critically strike, crit chance to reset our Poison Creeper. Now over here on the right side, we've managed to sneak in Earth and Sky. All of our abilities are nature's magic. So we're going to get 10% increased damage to enemies that are crowd controlled or vulnerable. And as you know, we've got plenty of crowd control with our setup. Now in our main transitional board, we're going to be using Exploit. This is a huge DPS against enemies that are vulnerable. I'm going to have a build guide in the description for using Tempest Roar and not using Tempest Roar. So you can pick whichever one you want. Now over here, we're using Undaunted. So you gain 10% damage reduction the more Fortify that you have. Our Fortify is going to be maximum pretty much all of the time. And then we've just managed to squeeze out a little bit more. This is only a rare node, but in my opinion, it's so good. It's called Bulwark. It gives us damage reduction while Fortify and Fortify generation. But what's cool about the Bulwark rare node is everything around it as well. Damage reduction while fortified, just everywhere, fortified generation. It's really, really good.